Oh, that was a pinch. Ouch, don't love that. Woo. You can hear the rain, and it's just a ducky day outside. Charging up 9:53 for an upcoming plow day, and I just stumbled upon this amazing Wheelhorse B120 pull start. It's been a little while since I've run this thing, so I figured since there's still some gas in it, I should see how many pulls it takes to fire it up. I do recall that. Oop. I don't know if there's any fuel left in the carb or what have you. We'll see. Fuel filter is dry. Yes, this has worked in the past. I don't know if it'll work today. By the way, you are sitting on the hood of Putt Putt. I'm gonna give this tractor some mouth to mouth. See if I can get some fuel through there. Oh yeah, good and full. This is why we shouldn't let our tractor sit, eh? If you haven't seen this muffler, I built it. This is a piece of 4-inch pipe. This pipe here goes all the way through. I have a piece of solid steel about that long, maybe that long, that I drilled it out for a black pipe to be welded in. So plug welded it, and I can just thread it right on top of that elbow. But the cool thing, these caps, top and bottom, you see there are weld spots. This was the pulley assembly for a mule drive. All these tractors I just walked through, and I can't find one for you. Oh, here we go. So this pulley right here, you can see very much resembles the top and bottom caps of that muffler. I drilled the spot welds out, pulled the bearing out, and those are my muffler pieces. There's another one inside as a baffle to divert hot gases from the inside of the muffler to the outside of the muffler. And that is my fabricated muffler system. It's pretty quiet. It sounds pretty good. For not knowing what I was doing, it worked out okay. All right, let's see. A little choke, a little fire. Well, I kind of decided, let's see how many wheel horses we can get to fire up today. Because I've got to move a lot around to get the ones out that I want for plow day. So let's just go all in, go for broke. What's going to start, what's not. This one here is Justin Case. Looks like it's going to need a little splash of fuel. I'm guessing quite a few tractors today will need a splash of fuel. I guess the cool thing about having so many machines, and sometimes they sit, I use only rec fuel, ethanol free. Just a little dab will do ya. But the reason I use ethanol free is so when they do sit, if the fuel dries up, I don't have all the nasty deposits and whatnot. We are in gear. Does that count? Should we just leave it at that? Nope. Ooh, I think something kind of shocked me a little bit. That was fun. Okay, now we have the signature horse. How cool is this one? Paid 50 bucks for this thing. Probably won't ever sell it. It's got an old beat up Tecumseh. Super light in the front end. Does awesome wheelies. That's kind of why I like it so much. And then I just asked everybody at the big show one year to sign it. And it's kind of gone from there. One of these days I'll give it a little bit of a clear coat, satin clear, something or other, to preserve all this, and we'll just keep enjoying it. One thing I did want to show though, look at this awesome air cleaner. Capped off piece of copper pipe, Scotch-Brite, like a Brillo pad, zip tied to it, and a rubber hose clamping it to the carburetor. That is the most hot rod thing I have ever seen on a garden tractor, and I love it. Isn't that awesome? Oh, it's so cool. All that time, 2 little pulls. No smoke. I love it. Oh, that was a pinch. Ouch. Don't love that. Woo. Actually, I need to drive this one. I need to move it. Let's see if I'll fire it up without choke. Okay, so far we are 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4. Yeehaw. This one, the battery is on a charger. It should fire no problem once we get some juice. Next we got Jackie, the 1947 lever steer, the oldest wheel horse flavored tractor that I have. I call this one Jackie because 1947 was when Jackie Robinson blew the Major League Baseball circuit away. They gave Jackie a chance, and I give this one a chance to just keep earning his keep. And, you know, it's beat up, it's welded, it's repaired. It has seen a lot of abuse. There's parts that I've replaced, there's parts that I've refurbished, there's parts that need help, namely that front axle. Am I abusing it? Maybe. Am I happy for using it instead of just letting it sit? Absolutely. I've got these awesome ag tires from Miller Tire, front and rear. I've got no added weight, no fluid in the tires, and I've never had a lack of traction plowing. So we're just gonna keep plowing. I made this over center lift off of some pictures. The plow works amazing. Let's throw some fuel in Jackie and see if he fires up. As for the amount of oil underneath Jackie, I guess if I was made in 1947, I'd leak a little too. I believe the input shaft of the transmission is leaking. This transmission is a Model T Ford. It takes 600 weight oil. That is something that is a little too rich for my blood. So I just fill it full of Lucas oil stabilizer. That stuff is thick as can be. And I guess if it leaks out, it leaks out. There's only a problem when it quits leaking, right? That's when we know it's empty. I might have actually overfilled it. So it is what it is. I'll check fluids before we hit the plow day. Otherwise, we're gonna keep running them. See, a little choke. I don't know where the throttle's at, but it ran last time we parked it. One pull. Normally I do one pull with the choke on, one pull with it off, and it fires up. Let's just give it a whirl. This 953 here, one of my daughters named Chloe, and Chloe has been on the tender for a little while. I could go with the old 50 amp quick charge start machine, but this thing is just like maybe 10 times before it puked again, so we might need a new battery. All right, let's see if this 62 Wheel Horse 702 will fire up. This one we call Steve 02 because it's the second Steve we've had, but I got this from Steve, so Steve 02. Okay, so we got 2 out of my 3 plow day runners running. That's pretty good odds so far. I believe we figured out that this Pond Rideaway Senior is a 56, but it could be a 54. I don't remember. Pretty sure it's a 56 based on the date code of the engine. That's the only way that these old ones were really identified. You got to take the hood off to find that. This one also has probably sat for too long. We normally get it out and enjoy it quite often, but sometimes life happens. Same thing, this normally fires up pretty easy. 1 or 2 pulls should be all it takes. This is my wife's tractor, and I bought it for her for a surprise. I didn't figure we'd ever own one of these, let alone this and a lever steer, but here we are. It's always a good idea to make sure these are in neutral so they don't run you over. Okay, let's see. We've got a GT14 that needs a hydraulic hose. We have a GT14 with a ventilated block. Balance gears let go on that. And that's kind of where I learned that balance gears are a big no-no on Kohlers. I'd much rather run without them and let things wobble a little bit than for them to go bad and they blow up. So that ain't good. Will Poppy fire up? Does Poppy have fuel? Oh yeah, all kinds of fuel. This one smokes pretty good. This one here is a project. This is a Black Hood. It was a C85. It's got a 6.5 horse Predator, and it's in the works of getting bigger tires and GT14 rear end fenders, body parts, stuff like that. I don't remember. It's probably been 3 years since this thing fired up. It also did not have rec fuel that I'm aware of. I don't know. Let's see what happens. We got choke. We got fuel's been on this whole time. I also don't know if there's any fuel in it. If it does start, I probably won't run it very long. I don't want all this crap to fall off. She stinks. She's real stinky. This is a tractor that I received. It was on the way home from a big show. I hauled the tractor for a guy and he gave me this. So I pretty much brought it home and tore it apart. Maybe one of these days I should finish a project. after sitting so long, I should just run the carburetor empty. We'll wheel that away now. Okay, let's see here. This one needs a battery in it. This is a T56, I want to say, T75, T57, I don't remember. Anyway, it's a Pennsylvania Panzer. They are pretty much bulletproof, super simple, super duper heavy, super greasable. There's grease fittings on everything. Some dirty feet have been on it. And yeah, we throw a little fuel at that, throw a battery at it, it'll fire right up. I don't know if I got it in me today. We'll see if this one ever comes to fruition. No motor, was a hydro. It's got a 3-speed bolted to it with really wide axles. That came out of a Commando 800. Why Commando 800s have wide axles, I don't know, but they do. This one here is Rebel. This was the first time we crossed state lines during COVID. Was for a tractor. We were rebellious. It burned down the wiring harness at a plow day. My mistake. I didn't go through the entire wire harness, and the tail light wire happened to be turned on, and it happened to short out across the transmission housing, and it went up in magic smoke. I should probably fill up the tires in Old Smoky one of these days. Hot Wheels here always starts a little hard, cranks a long time. It's got an electric fuel pump. I just think that the choke is not quite adjusted well, and for whatever reason, it's just something that I've never been able to get to. The battery's probably weak enough that it's gonna crank and crank and crank, but we do have another runner there. The Snowmo tractor and all of her beauty just sits there all nice and pretty and should be completed one of these days. Let me see if I can get up in there and check for fuel and yank on that thing 100 million times and see if it starts. Still got my lawn and garden tractor magazine with the centerfold. Wow, right where the staples are. That's the big one. That's pretty cool. I like that. Still pretty excited about that. Okay. Ignition on. Oh no. Gas tank's empty. It's still oil injected. I could probably put some gas in it and yank and yank and yank, but it's probably a lost cause. The fuel tank isn't even actually in. And one of these days I'd really like to put a motorcycle engine in it with a chain drive rear end, make it more like a quad than a snowmobile. Take off, have my low end torque, have my high speed, have 6 gears to choose from. So there we are. Up here we've got plain Jane. We just call her Jane. That's a Commando 6 with a Tecumseh engine and a Kohler carburetor on it. That Kohler carburetor was so worn out. The throttle shaft was all kinds of warbly. It didn't make a Kohler run well, but it makes that Tecumseh just sing. She's pretty. Needs a headlight lens, but for whatever reason, she got parked up there for a winter. The high-low quit working. We've got a nice mid-mount blade. I could probably throw some fuel in it and fire it up, but I don't want it to come off of that. Pallet racking. Yes, this started as a dump truck build. It looks like a hot rod dragster. Will I ever finish it? I don't know. I've actually got some GT14 frames to extend now instead of those smaller duty frames. I was going to use this angle iron and make like a ladder style frame, but these GT14 frames are so much heavier duty. I think they'd be better to start with and go from there. This orange trailer box here was the destined dump truck box for it. Very briefly, this is Barney Fife, our barn find 857. During COVID, when we couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, my daughter and I made it look more like a 1045. We cut apart all the spot welds in the tower, took the back toolbox off of a 552 and welded them to this 857 tower. This is basically the way that 1045s would have been built at the factory, with this part and this part. This was never on any other model than a 1045. So anybody who's chopped the rear end and done fenders, this part is generally not as clean. It's doable, it just takes time, that's all. And a little bit of patience, a little bit of finesse. But we kept it all patina, original paint here, original paint here. The 857 belt guard still worked. And same thing here, dead battery, probably out of fuel. Batteries are expensive when you've got 100 tractors to keep going. Last I knew, we were around 30. I might have taken some apart, sold some, got rid of some. So I don't know where our number's at, but I'm gonna guess actually maybe closer to 25, 22 to 25. Still seems like too much sometimes. This one, 312/8, is a buddy's. It went mowing about 40 hours a week for the majority of a summer without an oil change. Needs a little refresh. Sat outside with a bad transmission boot. Probably needs a little cleaning out. Hit a tree, probably could use a hood. Might need a seat. It's just kind of sitting here. I don't know if anything will ever happen with that one. Screaming Jimmy and this 875 project here. We don't have a name for it yet. Screaming Jimmy, Commando 800, like I said, really wide rear axles for whatever reason. They had a 22 750 tire set on these, and they had a wheel that was offset differently than most like C series or other square hoods of the era. And so for whatever reason, this one just sits a lot wider. It's got I think this is like a 417 hood or something like that. It had a 17 horse on it at one point, whatever was in this, under this hood. We got this at the big show for free. My daughter just had to have it. The stacks, the stainless steel stacks. These are grab handles from a handicap stall in a restroom. Found them at the scrapyard. We still utilized a stock muffler, but in not stock location. It's actually quite mellow of a tone. Young kid driving it, I did not want her to have a big loud pipe system, even though it looks loud. Cool, fun. That's that. Before I proceed, I wanted to show you this cool pedal setup. We took a second support rod off of a C series, like a C101 frame, and we welded it in underneath this footrest. And if we ever took this pedal assembly off and took this rod off, we could replace this footrest here with one without a cutout, and you'd never know it was modified. But you push this, it pushes the rod forward and pushes this. The safety cutoff for the starter circuit is still intact. You push this down. Let's see, when was that? 2018, 6 years ago. She was 8 years old, I want to say, riding this thing. And it was very hard for her to be on the seat and manage to push this. She'd do it, but it was quite the stretch. Her butt was like right here, not up there. So we did this, and the idea was that if we keep a floorboard around that's in good shape, she can keep this kit with the tractor, and maybe someday she'll teach her kids how to drive a tractor on this here machine. Who knows? I don't know what we'll end up doing as far as the front end. We've got a 520 swept front end kit. We have another 520 swept front end axle. We got the reduction steering. We've got some 8-inch front tires, some 8-inch front tires, and some matching 10-inch front tires that would go quite well with those 26/12/12 rears. In order to make the 10-inch wheels fit on one of these garden tractors, we've got a set of 10-inch rear wheels and tires off of a wheel horse. There's another set of 10-inch fronts. And like Poppy, I used a set of rear hubs. I machined them out and built front spindles that are greasable to fit a 10-inch rear wheel on the front of a wheel horse. Surprise, another round hood project. That one's a Suburban. I don't remember a whole bunch about it. It's got the unidrive rear axle, so that makes it a 51. So I think it might be a 401. Nope, that was a 551. I can see why. This hood stand here has this big cutout. That was for the air filter of a Tecumseh engine. That makes this one a 551 tractor. Somebody had modified the front end at some point to make it into a tricycle front axle, and then it was swapped back to original, so there's some grinding and welding and cuts and marks and stuff like that up front. I don't know what will end up of that one. I have this, well, I've got a whole bunch of K91 Kohlers, but I have a kickstart, like a wash machine engine, that I really think would be sweet under the hood of a round hood. And I think it'll fit. We've got another wheel horse 551. Let's see if it needs fuel. Dry as a bone. This one here is an electric start. I've been fighting with the charging system. I replaced my diodes. I have voltage, but for whatever reason, I have AC voltage, but for whatever reason, I don't get DC voltage. So for now, it's just a pull start. That is kind of the cool part though about these Tecumseh engines, is that they have electric and pull start options. Let's see here, we're getting pretty close to the end of what we can get to. This is the Rat Wrecker, spelled with WH's, W-H-R-A-T, W-H-R-E-C-K-E-R. Since it's a wheel horse, W-H. Anywho, another Black Hood funky creation from the same guy I got the other Black Hood from. Predator 6.5 horse. I don't know, I guess I could find bigger chains somewhere, but some front weight, a nice little hitch ball, good tires, and a bus seat. This one should fire up pretty well. We do have a C121 over there that we picked up from auction this summer. The idea there is that I'm supposed to kind of refurbish it a little bit, get it running and driving as a real good mower for somebody we know. And yeah, we'll get there someday. And a very, very dirty, dusty and rained on Frank. This is a 1073 custom wheel horse that I built for my wife. It is a round hood with a big block Kohler and a hydro automatic transmission. That was never built from the factory, but I did my best to kind of make it look factory. I think I have a good battery in here. I also think that it cranks forever before it fires on a normal day. One of these days, I think I should put an electric fuel pump on it. Other than that, we've just got parts. I think there's enough parts here to build a C125. Somewhere I have an 8-speed. Well, there's a 6-speed. So I could put that 6-speed in something that should have a 6-speed instead of an 8. Like Putt-Putt. We've got a pretty solid, clean frame here for that C125. And then just a little junkyard of pieces and parts, spares, things, whatnot. This one has a lever style fuel pump primer on it up front, and so I have primed it. I think if this battery is weak enough that it still won't start right now, that I'll probably just go grab another one. We got our choke on full. We have Joe, how could we forget G.I. Joe with the mean army green, 1054 with a 8 horsepower, Tecumseh snowblower engine welded to it. The tractor came to me with no air filter. It was pretty mangled and beat up, and I wanted to see how long it would last at a plow day. It blew up. It did not last the whole day. I did manage to get some pretty sweet stickers made. And I got a couple green ones just for this machine. I also have the red flavor. And that 702 is not mine. It was sent to me to be rebuilt and refurbished and restored, and money never came along with it. So there she sits. I think I'm probably going to have to return that this coming year to the big show. I'm really sad that it didn't work out, but that's that. And one last but not least that may fire up is Fat Bob, my daughter's 401 with a Clinton engine in it. It's a pretty rare combo. We need a splash of fuel for a tractor. This one, we need to repair the fuel straps. We need to repair the rear axle bushings in the transmission. But until then, it's still a pretty cool tractor. All right, let's see what happens. Oh. She runs good. Fat Bob, she do. Now, I do believe that completes my wheel horse collection tour. Never mind. Gee, there's always, hopefully not always, there's still one more. How could I have forgotten? I got the 750 Me. It's a 753. It's a little crazy, a little dangerous. Sickle bar mower, Mosheen. Forgot about that one. It's in the hallway. It's out of gas. But I just drove it like last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that, pulling my daughter's big Suburban into the shop till it ran out of gas and I had to push the Suburban in. So I'll just show a video clip of that one running. I'm out of gas. Okay. There's a couple more up there. There's a 953. I don't think it has an engine in it. It's just a frame. No front wheels. The rear hubs are welded to the axles because that's always a great idea. There's another 552, something like that. Frame up there, not much body left to it. It's just parts and pieces. And then I think that's it. If you've made it this long, I do appreciate you watching. Now I'm glad that I have 3 of my plow day machines ready-ish. Got to put the hood back on that 953 and maybe after a day of it charging, make sure it starts on its own a couple times. I got to pick out some plows for the plow day. I already have 2 of the 3 machines with plows. I have plenty of plows to choose from for the rest. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day.